welcome to this prenatal class. I am filming here from Sooke, and I've got a beautiful mum just announced here and her mum here behind the camera. So we're going to be taking this class today. You just found out you're pregnant. So I'm going to take you through some education, basically what your pelvic floor is, where your pelvic floor is, where your delivery muscles are, and then we can go through a full program. So when you're doing prenatal Pilates, it's not like normal Pilates. So we're definitely going to be doing similar movements and similar patterns, but we need to be focusing on your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominal muscles. So your pelvic floor literally is the last, I guess, layer between like yourself and the outside world. If your pelvic floor was not on all the time, we'd have a lot of problems. So I want you to think about your pelvic floor and your body as a 5-story house. So you've got ground floor, and then you've got your basement suite, ground floor, and level 1 up to level 5. So your pelvic floor, they're tonic muscles, so they're on all the time, like I was saying. As we inhale, we want to be letting go of your pelvic floor. So we're bringing your pelvic floor down to your basement suite, and you're almost not bearing down, but allowing that heaviness to come into your pelvic floor. And then even just letting go and not thinking about your pelvic floor bouncing back, it already comes back naturally to the ground floor. So that's relaxing your pelvic floor to the basement suite, and then it will just naturally come back up to the ground floor. When we're talking about activating pelvic floor for prenatal, ground 1 and 2 are pelvic floor activation only, and then when we go 3, 4, 5 levels, we're getting into transverse abdominals. We're getting into your transverse abdominal muscles, your six-pack muscles, and your obliques. So we've got basement suite, ground floor, level 1 and 2 is all pelvic floor muscles only, and then you cannot get more activation in your pelvic floor past level 2. You need to be able to recruit from your transverse abdominal muscles, your six-pack muscles, and your oblique muscles to be able to get a full contraction. Okay, so when you're doing a plank, for example, you want to be able to find basement suite all the way up to level 2, and then continue to recruit your outer muscles to level 5 or story 5 to be able to do a plank. But for us doing pelvic floor work, we're just going to be working up to level 2 with your pelvic floor and not get any of these outside muscles on, okay? So we're working from the inside out. Typically, like you're both quite active, you will have a good understanding of how to, you know, flex your six-pack and flex your obliques, but we want to be working basement suite to level 2. So even just sitting here, I want you to think about, you've got your pubic bone at the front and then your tailbone at the back. So this is what your hips look like from looking down. To activate your pelvic floor, you're trying to connect front and back. So you've got anterior, middle and posterior pelvic floor. A lot of people cue stopping urine flow, but that's just your anterior pelvic floor, and you forget about your posterior pelvic floor. So stopping urine flow and gas flow is a really good cue to get pelvic floor on, but that is just your superficial layer. You've got 2 layers of your pelvic floor. Superficial is connecting them together, and then the deep layers are lifting them up to the second story, essentially. So what I want you to practice here, you can do it with your eyes closed or eyes open, or focus on something in front of you. I want you to think about those stories of the house. So as we inhale, I want you to be able to relax your pelvic floor down into the basement suite, and then exhale, you're going to connect front and back pelvic floor, and then just gently lift up to level 2. We do that with your exhale. And then inhale, you're slowly letting your pelvic floor go from 2, 1, ground, and then basement suite, okay? So let's just try do that together. You should be able to do that without me saying, hang on, I can see you moving. It's literally like a secret that you have is your pelvic floor muscles. If you've done Kegels before, same kind of thing. But these pelvic floor muscles are slow twitch muscles, so we want to be making sure that we're slowly bringing it up to level 2 and then slowly releasing it back down to the basement suite, not ground floor. Okay, so let's do 10 big breaths together. Every time we exhale, we're going to move up. Every time we inhale, we're going to lower down. Okay? So get nice and comfortable. Take a big breath in for me. We're going to move to the basement suite. And then I want you to exhale. And we're slowly connecting the front and back and then lifting all the way up to the second floor. And then inhale, we're slowly releasing your pelvic floor down to the basement suite. And exhale, connecting and then lifting for 2. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down to the basement suite. Exhale, connect front and back. And now lift up towards the second story. And then inhale, we're slowly lowering down 1 ground floor basement suite. And then exhale, connecting and lifting, moving through those floors very slowly. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down. Exhale, halfway, connecting front and back. And then lifting up, no contraction of your six-pack muscles. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down. 5 more. Exhale, front and back pelvic floor connects. And we start to lift, ground 1 and 2. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down to find the basement suite. Last 4 here. Exhale, connect and lift. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down. Last 3. Exhale, front and back pelvic floor. And then we're lifting up. And then inhale, slowly back down. Last 2. Exhale. For the entire exhale, you want to connect and lift up. Inhale, slowly letting your pelvic floor go. And then exhale 1 more, connecting and lifting. And then inhale, slowly controlling back down. Nice. Could you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you're not supposed to have any hip flexor activation, no glute activation, no six-pack gripping or anything like that. It is literally your most internal muscles connecting and lifting around the spine or around the pelvis and then controlling back down. So the reason why we time this with your breath is because once we start to get into a Pilates class or any type of exercise regime that you do, is because we're trying to control your abdominal cavity pressure. So you have an involuntary muscle here, your diaphragm. As we inhale, your diaphragm contracts down so we can get all the oxygen into our lungs and expand through the rib cage. As you exhale, your diaphragm lifts up to push all the air out. So I can't think and say diaphragm contract. It's just going to naturally do that, but we can control our pelvic floor. So if you think about every time you exhale and lift up, say, and this is going to be once you get like a lot heavier in your pregnancy, if you're lifting up a weight or something from the floor or groceries and you exhale, all of this space now increases and we have a lot of instability around your pelvis and your spine and your discs. Same thing as you inhale, if you're contracting your pelvic floor, you're creating so much pressure on your abdominal cavity and it's too much. Too much for babe, too much for everything. All your discs, everything in your stomach there. So we want to make sure that we're timing it together as the diaphragm moves up and down. So as you inhale, that's why we relax your pelvic floor and find that basement suite. And then as you exhale, we contract and lift up. So the pressure in your abdominal cavity always stays the same. So when you start to exert and get into those like level 5 muscles, so your six pack and your obliques, you know that you're protecting your abdominal cavity pressure and your baby and your discs because you're never actually changing. So the hardest thing I found with women moving into prenatal work is that they feel like they don't have enough pressure as they're inhaling to relax, because inhaling to us and relaxing, you're not contracting. So there's no control, there's no stability, but it's always the same. So it's just a little bit of a way to kind of tweak that brain to muscle connection. Even though you're inhaling, you're keeping the pressure the same exactly as you're exhaling with your breath work. Yeah. So let's try that lying down on the floor. It's always harder in different positions. So this is called supine. You want to be able to find like a nice relaxed position with your pelvis. So you have what's called anterior pelvic tilt, which is a flat spine, and then you have, posterior pelvic tilt is a flat spine, and then anterior pelvic tilt is an arch in the back. A lot of the times with, I don't want to name and shame anyone, but a lot of the times with other classes, people are always talking about poor stability with a flat back, and that's extremely incorrect. Because if you think about those squishy marshmallow discs that are discs between the spine, that's way too much pressure on your discs to be loading your core firstly. And then also we don't walk around like this. We don't lift like this. We don't squat. We don't run with a flat spine. So why would we be strengthening into a flat spine? We want to be strengthening you into a neutral pelvic position. To find your neutral pelvic position, everyone has a different one. I have a very big arch in my lower back naturally, so my natural pelvic position, I can almost fit my entire forearm under my pelvis here, which is my neutral. To find your neutral pelvic position, you want to place your fingers on top of your pubic bone, and then your thumbs will naturally connect, and then your palm is going to rest on your hip bones, which is your ASIS location on your pelvis. So if you just come into a natural position, nothing's clenching, nothing's activating. Like for me, I can feel that my fingers are higher than my palms. So right now I'm in more of a posterior pelvic tilt, meaning I have more of a flat spine. So to find my neutral, I need to arch my pelvis a little bit more so that my fingers are now in line with my hips. So now we can start to rock from anterior pelvic tilt to posterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt is, if you think about your pelvis like a bucket of water, we're tipping the water forwards, and that creates an arch in your lower back. Posterior pelvic tilt, we're tipping the water posteriorly or behind you, and that's a flat spine. So I just want you to find your biggest anterior pelvic tilt and your biggest posterior pelvic tilt, and see how that feels on the body, just by rocking the pelvis forwards and then rocking the pelvis back. So you should be able to feel a nice big arch in the back, which is your anterior, and then you should be able to feel a full flat spine, but make sure you're not squeezing your glutes or your hamstrings to find that position. So rocking forwards into anterior pelvic tilt, and then we're rocking behind for posterior pelvic tilt, no glute activation. And then once you become more comfortable with those movements, I want you to be able to find where you think your neutral pelvis is. So remember, we want the fingers on the same plane as your palms. Make sure that your ribs aren't flaring too much. So this is where we start to get into the breath work. So as you inhale, I want you to think about inhaling laterally. So you're inhaling out to the sides, your rib cage is expanding out to the side. And then exhale, you can just relax and feel how the rib cage relaxes down a little bit more into the mat. We're not changing your pelvis here, but I still want you to be able to inhale and dissociate the movement of your rib cage. And then exhale, just relax the rib cage down while keeping that pelvis in neutral. So now that we've got you set up in neutral pelvis and neutral rib, making sure that you have a little bit of an arch in your pelvis, we're going to activate your pelvic floor. So strengthening in a neutral plane, very, very important. I want you to take a big breath in, keep your hands on your pelvis, find your basement suite, and then exhale. See if you can activate your pelvic floor and lift up to level 2 without shifting your pelvis. You may feel like your pelvis wants to rock back to activate into a neutral spine, but I want you to be able to engage up to level or ground 2, story 2, and then inhale back down to the basement suite. So let's try 5 together, and then I'm going to quickly check both of your techniques. So big breath in for me, basement suite. Exhale, we connect front and back, and then we're lifting your pelvic floor up towards the second story. Inhale, slowly releasing your pelvic floor. basement suite, and then exhale, connect and lift up to the second story. That's 2. Inhale, slowly release. And exhale, connect front and back and lift up for 3. Inhale, slowly releasing pelvic floor down. Exhale, connect and lift for 4. Big breath in, slowly releasing. And then exhale, connect and lift for 5. And then inhale, we're slowly releasing. So a little cheat sheet for you is if you grab your 2 fingers, and I'm going to get you to put them on the inside of your hip bones now. So that's where your transverse abdominal muscles are. They are anticipatory muscles, and they will fire after your pelvic floor. So if you do a little cough, just do a little cough for me. And you can feel the hardening under those fingers. They're your transverse abdominal muscles. They are your labouring muscles. So basically between now and 35 weeks, we are going to be contracting your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominal muscles together. After 35 weeks, we are going to be omitting pelvic floor contractions, and we're just going to be activating your transverse abdominal muscles. That's why it's so important to be doing prenatal Pilates, because once you have babe earthside, they're going to be co-contracting again. So it's only 5 weeks out of potential 40 that you're changing the contraction. Every other time we're going to be working them together. So it's very fun, the 35 plus week package, but let's work on connecting pelvic floor and transverse abdominal muscles. So transverse abdominal muscles would come on around level 2 and 3 of our 5-story house. So what I want you to practice now is we're going to inhale into the basement suite, and then you're going to exhale, feel the pelvic floor lift up to level 2, and then see if you can feel hardening right at the last couple of seconds of your exhale with your transverse abdominal muscles. And then as you inhale, I want you to slowly feel that contraction release and feel softness under your fingers for the entire inhale. So we exhale to connect front and back pelvic floor. We start to lift up through ground floor, level 1 and level 2. And you start to feel the hardening under the fingers for your final exhale. And then inhale, you want to slowly start to release your transverse abdominals and then your pelvic floor down to the basement suite. So let's do 5 together. I'm going to quickly check your postures. So big breath in for me. And then exhale, connecting and hardening. And then inhale, slowly releasing. Yeah, good. And then exhale, connecting front and back. Big breath in and exhale, connect front and back. Beautiful. Keep holding, good. And now inhale, slowly release. Good. Keep releasing, There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, really good contraction. So we want to make sure, keep going for me, inhale to your basement suite. And then exhale, connecting front and back, and then slowly lifting up ground floor 1, 2, 3, transverse abdominals. And then inhale, we're slowly letting that contraction go. So both of your positions felt really good. Just a little bit more anterior or like neutral pelvis would have been perfect, but exactly trying to time that exhale with the pelvic floor and diaphragm, inhale and slowly releasing. Okay, so now you've got the basics of prenatal Pilates, we can start moving. So in every movement that we do now, I want you to think every time you're exhaling, we're lifting. Every time you're inhaling, you're trying to find that basement suite. Okay, so let's come onto the mats here. I'm going to get you standing, and we're going to do some nice spinal articulation. So we're going to take a big breath in, palms open, come into slight extension here, and then exhale, we're going to roll down chin to chest. I want soft knees here. 1 vertebrae at a time, you're rolling down. You want to have full relaxation of your arms and head and neck, and just going down to where your hamstrings say that's enough. Take a big breath in here,
opening through your pelvic floor, and then exhale. Can you now try to connect your pelvic floor here for me, which is a lot difficult in this different position. And we're restacking your spine, so we're finding neutral pelvis, and then we're stacking your lumbar spine, your thoracic, rolling through your shoulders. Feel that you've got long collarbones as you restack the head back on top. We'll do 2 more. Big breath in, slight extension, and then exhale, roll the palms in, soft knees, rounding down. And we're just giving some space to your discs, some space that they don't often feel throughout the day. Big breath in here. Exhale, rolling back up, soft knees always. Gentle squeeze of your glutes and hamstrings to find neutral pelvis. Once you have neutral, we're lengthening through the spine to restack. Roll the shoulders, opening up the palms, place your head on top. 1 more big breath in. Exhale, chin to chest, and we're rolling down. Nice and slowly, don't beat me down. Nice soft knees always, never hyperextend or lock your joints. We have your muscles there for a reason. Big breath in, and then exhale. We're rolling back up, 1 vertebrae at a time. Restacking, rolling through the shoulders, opening up the palms, and then big reach, nice and tall. Okay, let's roll down 1 final time. We're going to stay down. We're going to work through your calves, finding the bottom, and then we're going to continue to walk my hands away from the mat, and we're going to come into an up dog yoga position. So I want 1 heel to be lifting, and then we're going to switch 2 heels high, and then 1 heel lower. So we're going to inhale and lift both heels. Exhale, lowering 1 heel down. Big breath in, lift both heels. Exhale, lower 1 heel down. Big breath in. Try, when you're looking at your feet, lower the heel directly behind your big toe. Inhale, lift. And then exhale, lower behind your big toe. Don't let it come in further to your midline. Inhale. And then 1 more. Going all the way down. Beautiful. We're going to roll ourselves into a plank here. So I want you to come onto both tippy toes here. And then 1 vertebrae at a time, we're going to start to round, and then find yourself in an upper plank. And then we can control the knees down, and then you can control yourself back down onto the floor. So stomach exercises are very important for prenatal, prior to your baby growing. So we've got a really small window here that we can get you into some extension work. So I'm going to keep your forehead down onto the floor to start. I want you to press your pubic bone into the floor and lift your belly button, and that will protect your lower back. And a gentle squeeze of the glutes. Hands will be by your chest. We're going to take a big breath in, and then I want you to exhale, and we're going to lift from the head, and then your neck, and then your mid-back into an extension. So I'm keeping my rib cage on the floor, like the base of my rib cage, and then lifting the rest of my rib cage up. That's my inhale, and then exhale. We're going to control back down and try to lengthen through the spine. Inhale, gentle press through the hands, and we lift 1 vertebrae at a time. I want you to think long collarbones and squeeze your shoulder blades back behind you. It's like you're trying to squeeze your shoulder blades down into your back pockets if you were wearing jeans. Let's go again. So we inhale and we lift. Keep lifting that belly button the whole time to protect your lower back. You should be feeling some tension through your mid-back here, nothing through your lower back. Let's go 2 more. Inhale, lifting up. If you're feeling discomfort in your lower back, can you squeeze your glutes and lift your belly button a little higher? Inhale, lower. And then 1 more. Big breath in, coming all the way up. And then exhale, coming all the way back down. Beautiful. Okay, let's reach our arms all the way in front now. We're going to come into some swimmers. So let's keep the forehead down on the floor. Lift the belly button, squeeze the glutes. Palms are going to face each other, pinkies are on the floor. We're going to exhale, lift opposite arm, opposite leg. Inhale, tap down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, tap down. If you would like to modify this and make it a little harder, you can lift your forehead about 1/2 inch off the floor and keep it there the whole time. So we exhale to lift, inhale to lower. Again, if you're feeling lower back discomfort, don't lift your leg as high and make sure that belly button is lifted and your glutes are on. Inhale, exhale, big breath in, and exhale, inhale lower, exhale lift, inhale and exhale. Legs stay straight the whole time. We're hinging from your glute, not from your knee. So we've got one big plank of wood in our arms and legs, and we're hinging from our shoulders and our hips. Exhale to lift, inhale lower, exhale to lift, inhale lower. Beautiful. And placing your hands by your chest, big press up and over, come into a shell stretch. Just to release your lower back, big breath in, exhale, relax, and one more big breath in, and exhale coming up. Let's open up these hip flexors. Your hip flexors are going to be taking you into a whole new world during your pregnancy, because you're going to be wanting to come into this position. So really important that we're opening up these hip flexors right from the start. So I want you to get out of this position and really drop that hip down. Yeah, we always for some reason want to come too high. So we're dropping that hip down, and then we want to tuck the pelvis into more of a neutral position, and you should immediately feel a stretch through that hip flexor there. So we have different hip flexors, one in your leg and one pretty much inside your stomach. So I want you to lift your left arm up if your left knee is down. Good. Take a big breath in. Keep squeezing your glutes and try to tuck the pelvis under further. That should get a deep stretch right on that left side from above and below the hip. Take a big breath in and reach up. Exhale, you just need to do a slight bend to the side, and that should get deeper into your psoas, which is pretty much where I'm poking here in my stomach. Big breath in again. Inhale through your left rib. Exhale, relax. Big breath in again through your left rib cage. That's where we have some attachment points. And then exhale, coming up. So you can get into a pretty deep stretch there in your hip flexors without moving too far. So let's go into the other side, dropping your left hip down and tucking the pelvis under into neutral. Get a nice stretch through the front of the hip, squeeze your bottom. And then inhale, reaching that right arm up and over, and getting a nice stretch. You can feel where the attachment points are from the rib cage all the way down into the hip. Big breath in through the right rib. Exhale, relax. A little bit more reach if you can. And then another final breath in. And exhale, coming down. Okay, we're going to get into our Pilates push-ups. So Pilates push-ups are a little different to normal push-ups. Basically what we're doing here is we're keeping our pelvis on top of our knees as we move in and out of the press. So we're inhaling. This is a beautiful pelvic floor stretch. And then we're exhaling and pressing away. So all of those foundations that we learned before, inhale, you want to let your belly hang relatively heavy. And then exhale, we're going to connect your pelvic floor here first and then press away. So I want you to really feel that lift and the hugging of your pelvic floor and transverse abdominal muscles before pressing away. Okay, let's try for 10. So inhale, we control down, squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then exhale, connect your pelvic floor first and then press away. Yeah, good. Inhale, lowering down. Exhale, connect front and back. And now press away. Most of the weight, inhale coming down, should be in your hands. Exhale, connect first and press away. If your arms are not shaking, can you lean more onto your wrists for me? Exhale, connect and press away. We don't want to turn this into a hip flexor exercise. And exhale, press. Let's call that 4. Big breath in, release your pelvic floor. And exhale, connect, lift up and press away. 5. Big breath in, releasing pelvic floor. Get a nice stretch through your pelvic floor if you can visualize that. Connect and press away. 6. Inhale. And exhale, connect and press. 7. Inhale, release your core and floor.
and connect. 8, last 2, big breath in. Exhale, connect and lift. 9 and 1, more big breath in. Exhale, connect. 10, beautiful. We're going to come into some triceps now, and I'm going to show you a modification if you want to make it a little bit more difficult. Your hands are going to be slightly more in front of your shoulders, and we're going to be lifting one leg up. I don't want your hips looking like this. Think about a nice cold glass of water. Normally this is a wine cue, but it's a prenatal class. So a nice cup of water. You're going to be reaching forwards, that leg lifts, and then exhale, you're pressing away. So it really gets straight into your triceps. So you're inhaling to drop the chest, lift the leg high, exhale, you're pressing away. So I want to see that shift. So we're leaning over the wrists, and then we're pressing back away from the wrists. Beautiful. Lift that leg high and then press away. Yeah, it's not easy. Let's alternate the legs. So we'll do 5 each. So let's lift the left leg now. Think about that cup of water. We inhale, chest over the wrists. Lift that leg, squeeze the glute. Exhale, press away, drop the knee. Inhale, reaching forwards. Exhale, press away. Now, prenatal class, what are we doing with our pelvic floor? Inhale, as we reach forwards, feel comfortable to keep your pelvic floor relaxed. Exhale, lift your pelvic floor as you engage. Switch legs, inhale and exhale. Remembering the other modification for this exercise is inhale and exhale. And again, big breath in, releasing pelvic floor. And exhale. Let's go 1 more each leg. Big breath in. Exhale, connect front and back pelvic floor. And switching 1 more time on these poor triceps. Inhale and exhale. Press away. Knees nice and wide, arms forwards, and bring yourself into a nice shell stretch. Big breath in. Exhale, relax. And 1 more big breath in. And exhale, relax. Good. Okay. Let's leave our arms alone, and we're going to come into some hip strengthening. This is one of my favourite exercises that we're going to be doing a lot in the prenatal classes. So come onto your side here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reaching forwards and backwards. So this is a long series with different variations. The most important thing for now, while you're early in your prenatal journey, is that you keep your rib cage connected to the floor and your hip connected to the floor. But as women, our hips are bigger than our waist, so you want to make sure that there's a little pea-size object underneath your waist. And that's especially important when we start to lift this leg. So as you lift the leg, we don't want to squash that pea, and we don't want to squash that or blueberry. You want to keep that waistline lifted. So you're just isolating your glute instead of working your obliques and looking like a fish out of water. So ribs, hips are connected, little blueberries underneath your waist. We're going to inhale and point your toe and reach forwards. This leg, good. And then exhale, flex your foot for me and squeeze all the way back. Good. Now, whether your hand is under your waist, I also like to put one hand on my thumb on my rib and finger on my hip, because that stops us from doing this as our leg comes back. So inhale for me, coming forwards. Exhale, flex your foot, engage your pelvic floor, squeeze your glute only. Yeah, that looks much better. Inhale, coming forwards. And then exhale, squeeze your glute, engage your pelvic floor and core. Good, and coming back, good. Inhale, reaching forwards. And exhale, pelvic floor, transverse abdominals, and now we're getting into your glutes. Inhale, reaching. And then exhale, flex your foot. 5, big reach forwards. And exhale, flex and pull back. 6. Inhale. Exhale, think prenatal class. pelvic floor, transverse abdominals, 7. Inhale, try and keep the torso nice and still. Exhale, squeezing back. 8, big reach. And exhale, glutes should be warming up. 9, inhale. Exhale, come all the way back from here, keep your leg high. We're going to now control that foot down to the floor and then squeeze and lift it up. Now I don't want your leg coming in front of your hip. So if you want to have a straight arm in front of your body like so, yeah, you get an understanding that you're keeping your leg behind you. Good, we want no hip flexion. Now again, prenatal class. Inhale, release your pelvic floor, drop the foot down. Exhale, engage your core and floor, and then squeeze your glute to lift the leg. Good. Inhale, dropping down. Exhale, lifting up. Good. I'll get both of you to roll your top hip forwards for me. Yeah. And then squeeze. So if you had a seam line on your pants, you should be feeling it behind that seam line on the hip, not through your hip flexor. Big breath in and exhale. 9, one more, inhale and exhale, lifting up for 10. Good, and then relaxing that down. Yeah, let's change sides. You could feel like, yeah? Good.
I like this one.
Okay, changing sides for me. So, thinking rib cage and pelvis.
Does it matter where your bottom leg is?
Just bent.
Just bent doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. If you feel like it's starting to cramp, you want to pull it back from this position. Yeah. So rib cage and pelvis, and we've got a little blueberry under our waist. Lifting the leg for me. Place your hands wherever you feel was a good cue for you. We're going to inhale forwards. Exhale, flex the foot and squeezing back. Inhale, point, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, connect your pelvic floor and squeeze back with the glute. Inhale, release. And exhale, connect. That's 3. Good. Torso stays nice and still. Exhale. 4. Big breath in. And exhale, flex and squeeze back. 5. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Move to the basement suite. And exhale. Come up to level 2 and 3 for me. 6. Inhale. And exhale. Squeeze your glutes, support your core. Inhale, release. Exhale, flex. 8. Inhale, release, pointing the foot forwards, flexing the toes back. 9. And 1 more big reach forwards. And exhale, coming back for 10. Good. Keep your leg here. We're going to drop the foot down. Exhale, lift without squashing the blueberry. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Good. Can I get both of you to bring your legs back for me? Yeah. There we go. 3. Inhale. Exhale, lift. 4. You should be feeling that in your side bum. Exhale, pelvic floor, transverse abdominals, glute, med. 5. Inhale and exhale, lift. 6. Big breath in. Exhale. 7. Last 3. Exhale. 3. Inhale, tap down. Exhale, lift for 2. And 1 more. 1. And controlling down and relaxing. Good. Okay, let's finish these glutes off together. I'm going to get you lying onto your back and we're going to do some nice bridges. Again, with supine lying in prenatal classes, it is completely up to you with your comfort level. I have taken women exercising onto their back 3 days before delivery. It's up to you with how you feel with your blood pressure and pressure definitely on the stomach and into the legs, because as you start to become more pregnant, there's going to be a lot of pressure onto your stomach and nerves. So that is something for you as a prenatal mum to decide with your comfort with any of these classes. So with our bridges, we're going to be exhaling and rolling through your newfound pelvic positioning. So we're going to go from neutral pelvis. We're going to exhale and connect your pelvic floor always. Start to lift up your pelvic floor. We're going to flatten through the pelvis
and squeeze the glutes. And then we're going to lift one vertebrae up at a time. We're going to inhale at the top. And then I want you to exhale to connect your pelvic floor again. And then you're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time, making sure you're walking one disc down before the other. And then we're inhaling to find that neutral pelvis. Okay, so that's the full exercise. So exhale with me, connect your pelvic floor, start to flatten the spine, squeeze the glutes, and we're going to roll one vertebrae up at a time. And I want you to think about reaching your knees over your toes to lift into the bridge. Inhale here, release your pelvic floor while your glutes are on, super weird. And then exhale, connect your pelvic floor again and start to roll down one vertebrae at a time. Really be mindful that you're massaging each vertebrae. Exhale, roll again, pelvic floor, lifting to level 2, squeeze the glutes, push your knees over your toes for me. Inhale at the top, and then exhale, connect your pelvic floor and rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Find your neutral pelvis, inhale. Exhale, connect pelvic floor, squeeze the glutes, start to lift the legs, knees over toes. Reach them over your toes, you'll feel more hamstring activation. And exhale, rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Big breath in, we'll finish on 2 more. Exhale, connecting pelvic floor, squeezing your glutes and rolling up one vertebrae at a time. Inhale at the top, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, connecting pelvic floor, and we're rolling down. Nice and slowly. Make sure your knees aren't going wider than your big toes. And then exhale, final bridge here. Squeeze the glutes and lift. Inhale. And then exhale, core and floor, rolling down. And then finding your neutral pelvis. Beautiful. So, you can find yourself towards the back of the mat, and I'll get you to stand. And we will finish on a roll down. And it's always a nice check-in point to see how your body is feeling pre and post-class. So palms facing forward, nice little extension of your spine. Big breath in. Exhale, chin to chest. And you're rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Remember, soft knees. Let your body hang nice and heavy. Wake up those nerves again, all the way to where you're comfortable. Inhale here, final breath of the session. And then exhale. We're rolling back up, neutral pelvis, restacking that spine, keep your head relaxed, and then roll through the shoulders, palms forward, and placing the head on top. Beautiful. So, that's your first prenatal class. I'm going to answer your questions off the camera. Take homes, this is your pelvic floor. We want to be connecting, so if that basement suite resonated with you, connecting front and back doors. That's your anterior posterior pelvic floor. And then connecting and walking yourself upstairs. We do not drop yourself down from the 2nd story to the basement suite. We walk ourselves back down. And that is just to time it with our involuntary muscle, which is your diaphragm. As you start to become more pregnant and bigger and baby's growing, you're going to start to see like this happening, where you inhale and your pregnant belly can hang out, and then you're exhaling and your baby will lift in and up, which is really cool. And you'll almost feel like those transverse abdominal muscles are like your hammock muscles. They're lifting up each time, and then letting them go, because they're going to be pushing him or her